Hey, you're listening to the Oh Crap Potty Training podcast, and I am your host, Jamie Glowacki. I am the author of Oh Crap Potty Training and Oh Crap, I Have a Toddler. So welcome. I don't know where you live, but it was 6 degrees here this morning in Rhode Island, walking my dog, a little freezing. And I do think I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold, so I'm going to try not to hack in your ear, but got a little frog in my throat. So got my hot water and hoping to record this before I go down for the count. Today I want to talk about something we call potty word salad in Oh Crap Potty Training and praise, and when praise isn't great for your kid. So potty word salad is a term that I and some of the Oh Crap consultants have come up with. It's when you overtalk the word potty. And this happens a lot when you're starting potty training. And if you have told your child a couple of weeks in advance or a week in advance, we're going to potty train, and you use the word potty so much that your child starts to resist. So I think in the life of a average 2 or 3-year-old, I had noticed a phenomenon a few years back that kids whose parents never do a timeout, these kids still knew what a timeout was. Yeah, because it's so ubiquitous in the parenting world that kids knew what a timeout was, even if they had never experienced a timeout in their home or their daycare or preschool. I think the same holds true for potty training. It's a big deal, and parents are talking about it, and our kids are often listening when we don't think they're listening, and often not listening when we want them to listen, right? And so I think the same holds true for potty training. And when we, again, start potty training, the overuse of the word potty can make some kids dig in their heels. And it is one of the reasons we see resistance in the early days of potty training, because they've heard so much hullabaloo about it. They've heard so much about it, and they've heard the word over and over again that they're like, whoa, enough. I don't want any of this. And this also happens once we begin potty training, right? We're just, oh, do you need to use the potty? People ask. Remember, we're never asking if a child has to go potty. And you can easily substitute the word bathroom. A lot of times when I'm working with a private client, I'm like, stop saying the word potty. It's too much on the child, and they're like, they freak out. This also comes into play when people ask me for recommendations on picture books about the potty and potty training. I don't recommend potty training books because I haven't found one yet on the market that actually describes the process of potty training. And once again, it's just adding to the word potty. This puts our focus on like a singular thing, and we forget that this child has a robust life that didn't have the potty in it a week ago, and now we're like shoving it down their throat and in their ears every 2 minutes. So I think it's a great idea to read on the potty, and I highly suggest a little potty basket with maybe some toys, little toys, Matchbox cars, rubber duckies, things that can be washed. Maybe some bubbles to help release pee and poop and get those sphincter muscles released. So I do recommend that. And I recommend a few books, just a few, because a lot of times a child will stay on the potty because you're reading to them, and they'll go through endless books. But if you have just like 2 or 3, your child can look at those on their own, or you can read them, but they don't have to be potty specific. Again, we want to just minimize the word potty. You can substitute the word bathroom, or it's time to go, or something like that. But check in with yourself and make sure you're not doing the potty word salad, because they just resist. They dig in their heels. And that is one of the reasons, one of the top reasons that kids resist the potty. Now, there is another thing I want to talk about, which is praise. And I've done this on my parenting podcast, Oh Crap Parenting. And I've also mentioned praise here before in a podcast, but it bears repeating. And we have a special circumstance that I want to talk about. So in general, in parenting period and in potty training, we don't want to cheerlead. We don't want to empty cheerlead our kids, right? It has to have substance, and it has to have a tone of substance. So one of the phrases I should say that I'm really against is good job. Not that your child isn't necessarily doing a good job, or that you shouldn't acknowledge that, but it becomes ubiquitous. It becomes empty. Good job. Good job. We say it when we're distracted. We might be on our phone and our kid does, a silly little hop or something. Mom, look at me. Good job. Good job. Good job. And it's kind of meaningless. It's far better to be specific in praise. In general parenting, it can look like when your child, particularly when they show you artwork, oh, look what I drew. And instead of saying an empty, good job, oh, you could say something like, oh, tell me about that. Or, oh, can you, is there a story behind this picture? Because a lot of times, first of all, what they drew is not necessarily recognizable. So we can make a mistake if we good job, that's an awesome elephant. And they're like, oh, mommy, that's you. And you're like, oh, okay. Right. But when potty training, empty praise, your child knows it's empty praise. Good job. Good job. I always go back to this idea, our kids are little humans. And around the time of potty training, I don't think baby talk is necessary ever. I don't ever think you should do baby talk. I think it's condescending, right? But a lot of people do, and a lot of people do it. I had a friend who was baby talking to her 6-year-old, and I finally was like, dude, you got to stop. She's 6. She's got a full command of the language right now, And, but we don't want to be in that sing-songy voice anyway, because kids start to tune it out. And in potty training, I think it's way better to reflect back to them, not praise, but, oh, you must feel really good. You must be really proud of yourself. We don't want to say, I am proud of you. We don't want to take on our kids' emotions, and we don't want to put our kids in charge of our emotion. So we don't want our kids saying, oh, mommy, you sad? I had an accident. Mommy, you sad? No, your emotions, your child should not cause your emotions. Yes, we are responsible for our own emotions, and certainly our children can trigger things, but we don't ever want to say, you make me mad, you make me sad, you make me happy. We want to reflect back to them what they did. And I'll ask you, if you do something, if you do a well done job on something, would you like me to say, oh, good job? Or would you like me to say, hey man, awesome. What sounds more authentic? What sounds more sincere? Like a fist bump with awesome job. You must be really proud of yourself. I can see that took a lot of work, right? You want to lower your pitch, stop the sing-songy voice, and stop the empty cheerleading. And I think I'm running into, I don't think, I know this, but I think what's happening with parents is we're wildly unsure, the sheer amount of information we're getting from the internet, social media, it's overwhelming. And so we feel unsure. So we falsely want to bolster self-esteem, but self-esteem doesn't come from cheerleading. Self-esteem doesn't come from empty praise. It comes from a job well done, a child doing something they weren't sure they could do, overcoming something hard, and acknowledging and reflecting that. We want to praise effort, not outcome. It's not like if your child, say, for example, is having trouble pooping and they poop, it's not about the poop. It's about that they overcame something, right? And you might say wow, I can see that was tricky for you getting that poop out. Okay. So, yeah, well done. That is sincere. Now, what's happening is more and more kids, I'm hearing this from clients and also from the Oh Crap experts, is that more and more people are saying their kids are blatantly telling them, don't say that. Mommy, don't tell me good job. No, don't say that. Stop it. They're actively stopping it. And the parents don't know what to do because they're like, I don't understand. I'm telling them good job. It means you're not being sincere. And the kid can sense that. Or it means that they just don't want this pressure. I'm going pee. It's not a big deal. Let me go. Don't stop praising me. And they don't have those words. So they'll say, stop saying good job or stop saying that, mommy. So it means that they're feeling pressure. And amen to these kids because they can articulate it. And that's fantastic. But we want to make sure that we're owning our part in that and doing what they ask. Now, what can happen, and this is the more particular circumstance that I've heard this from a couple of people, that they get into a daycare or preschool setting and the teachers there are effusive with the praise to the point of being cloying, to the point of that empty cheerleading. They might be getting a sticker. They might be getting something else. A small toy. Some places keep those treasure chests that they have at the dentist, kind of cheap stuff from like the dollar store. So they're doing that and the kids are resisting and they're saying it like, don't say that, or they're having accidents, or they're resisting going to the potty. So if this is your situation, we have a couple of tips for you. One is definitely advocate for your child. Tell the teachers what's going on at home and that your child has specifically said, don't say that, don't say that, or that you've noticed some resistance kicking in when you do that empty cheerleading. And in this one incident I've heard of, the teachers were so effusive and there was a line. They took the kids in like a herd to go to the potty, which I think is fantastic. I approve of that. And that often gets a kid who is resistant to going to go because they're kind of blending in with the crowd. But this one little boy was at the end of the line, hearing all the effusive praise, doesn't want it, made him resistant. And so when it was his turn, he was like, heck no, I'm not I don't want any part of this. Okay. And remember, our little ones are super susceptible to these emotions, these feelings, and they react in a way that's often inappropriate. Like you or I would say, oh, she's being annoying, I'll just go pee anyway. But a little one is going to be like, no, you know how your child reacts, right? Like they're little volatile beings at 2-3 years old. And so they're going to act inappropriately if something feels really uncomfortable for them, right? They're not just going to be like, whatever, I can deal with this. They're not going to be able to deal with it. So a good idea in this situation would be to put the child first. So we're having the mom ask the teacher if this child can be first in line. Okay. And that can be very helpful because then they don't have to hear all the effusive praise. It can be not a big deal. They can go first and then just be done with it. But it's always great to advocate for your child. And whenever you go back to a daycare setting after potty training, you always want to give them the information they're going to need. They're never going to be one-on-one like you are at home, but you want to collect that data. What the things we're collecting for daycare are always, what's their pee pattern about how often do they go? What's their pee signal or dance? Like, what do they look like before they have to go? And things like this, anything kind of out of the ordinary, like just don't tell him good job, okay? Because he really doesn't like praise right now for whatever reason. It makes him really reticent to go to the potty. So that's really good information to give your daycare. Okay. So watch your potty word salad and be cautious of praise. And again, I always think it's such a good idea that instead of praise, that you reflect back to them. You must be so proud of yourself. Your belly must feel so good. Wow, that was such a big poop. Things like that are just factual, that we're not overdoing the praise. And always, 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 particularly with moms. I've mentioned this on the podcast a lot. I get a lot of feedback that like, I can't believe it. They just go for my husband and it's not a big deal. A lot of times kids respond better to the fact that men in general tend to use a lower pitch and less words. So like a fist bump from dad that is like, hey man, awesome job. And then they just move on. That's an okay praise, right? Because it's just short. It's not cloy. It's not cheerleading. It's sincere. We want to be sincere with our kids. We want to be authentic because when we're not, they know it and they're like, they resist, right? Okay. As always, I thank you guys for listening. If you are struggling with pee or poop withholding, please see my pee and poop withholding courses. We also have a group that is not on social media. That's a membership group hosted on my platform. If you have additional struggles or extenuating circumstances. And if you are heading into potty training and your child has to go back to daycare, we have our daycare blueprint. And I always think it's a good idea to get that before you begin potty training, because some of that course is how to set your child up for success at daycare and how to set up the whole potty training process before you're mid-process and have to go back to daycare and find out that the daycare is not exactly going to do what you asked or that their policy is different than you thought. So I always think that's a great idea. As always, I appreciate you guys listening. Rock on and have a beautiful day.